You've made a big mistake.
Okay.
Hi guys, welcome to Celeb Q. Did you hear that Jonathan Majors was dropped by Disney and Marvel? But what really happened, and why did they drop him? In my opinion, I feel like the decision was already made a while ago. They were just waiting for the verdict of the trial. I feel like whether or not he was found guilty, they were going to drop him anyway.
You've made a big mistake, okay? I'm an Avenger. I've called the other Avengers.
And just who are you?
I've been dubbed many names by many people. A ruler, a conqueror, he who remains, a jerk. But it's not as simple as a name. However, not every version of me was so pure of heart. Well, guess what? I keep you safe. And if you think I'm evil, well, just wait till you meet my baby.
Majors was born on September 7th, 1989 in California. He is 34 years old. He studied at the University of North Carolina School of Arts and later attended the Yale School of Drama. Jonathan has appeared in a variety of films and TV shows, gaining recognition for his roles in Lovecraft Country and The Five Bloods. He is also known for working with Marvel, previously acting in films such as Ant-Man and Quantumania. Besides his acting career, there isn't a lot of public information available about his personal life. He tends to keep a low profile when it comes to his personal affairs. However, after a 2-week trial on December 18, 2023, Majors was found guilty of assaulting and harassing Grace Jabari, who is now his ex-girlfriend. Last year in Manhattan, Majors and Jabari got into a dispute in the back seat of a chauffeured car. During their dispute, his ex-girlfriend accused Majors of attacking her in the car, which she stated left her in excruciating pain. She stated that he hit her in the head with an open hand, twisted her arm behind her back, and squeezed her middle finger until it fractured. Eventually, the argument ended up outside of the car, where surveillance footage was caught of the two. Consequently, after Majors' misdemeanor, assault, and harassment conviction, he was dropped by Marvel and Disney. He will not be in any of their upcoming projects.
Actor Jonathan Majors is facing up to a year in jail after his conviction for assaulting and harassing his ex-girlfriend. Jerika Duncan was in the courtroom when the verdict was read, and she's with us now. Jerika, good morning. Marvel wasted no time.
Yeah, they did not. Good morning to you all. Jonathan Majors stood up and looked straight at the jury, stoic as the jury foreperson read the verdict. The first count was not guilty, but what followed was a decision that was split, one that ultimately found Majors guilty.
Jonathan, how do you feel right now?
It took the jury roughly 6 hours to find actor Jonathan Majors guilty of assaulting and harassing his ex-girlfriend Grace Jabari. But Majors was found not guilty on the most severe charge, third-degree assault with intent to injure, and acquitted on count 3, aggravated harassment.
This jury did not believe, by its verdict, that Jonathan Majors intended to cause any kind of substantial injury to the victim. Instead, what they found was that his actions were reckless.
Prosecutors argued Majors had been psychologically and emotionally abusive to Jabari during the couple's relationship. However, the defense said it was Jabari who attacked Majors back in March. The jury was shown pictures of Jabari's hand and head injuries, along with surveillance video from last March in New York City. Majors and Jabari got into a fight in a chauffeured SUV when Jabari grabbed Majors' cell phone because she saw a text message from another woman. The incident spilled out onto the street, where you can see Majors trying to push Jabari back into the vehicle before he takes off running. She then chases after him. Jurors were also shown police body camera the following morning. Upon returning home, Majors called police because he says he was worried Jabari may have harmed herself after finding her unconscious on the floor.
What happened exactly? Do you know?
No, I don't know. But she's unconscious.
Majors called 911 hours after the assault.
She's my ex-partner. We broke up.
Jurors saw text messages that suggested Majors tried to dissuade Jabari from seeking treatment at a hospital for a head injury from a prior incident between them. And they heard a recording of Majors scolding Jabari.
Do you really know, baby? Do you really?
Yes.
Then how dare you come home drunk and disturb the peace of our house when we have a plan?
He then tells Jabari that she needs to emulate two iconic women.
Coretta Scott King. You know who that is? That's Martin Luther King's wife. Michelle Obama. Barack Obama's wife.
I know, I'm not. I shouldn't have gone out. I'm sorry.
The ex-girlfriend secretly recorded the argument in 2022.
I'm a great man. A great man. I am doing great things, not just for me, but for my culture and for the world. That is actually the position I'm in. The woman that supports me needs to be a great woman.
Jabari's attorney said in a statement justice was finally served.
And senior investigative reporter Aaron Katersky joins me now for more on this. I want to start with you because you were there. So Jonathan Majors now faces up to a year in prison. Having been in the courtroom, what part of this case do you think had the biggest impact?
Always a fool's errand to guess a jury, and we did not hear from jurors afterwards. But I think there were a couple of things. One, the harassment charge had to do with what happened outside the SUV. Never mind what happened inside the car, but outside the SUV, they saw Jonathan Majors hoist up Grace Jabari, shove her back in the car. He runs off, and then he pushes her away as she gives chase. So the harassment seemed evident to the jury. The other things, and this is only a guess based on watching the jury watch the evidence, they heard the testimony of Grace Jabari about prior incidents in their relationship. The time he berated her for bringing up an ex-boyfriend's dog, the time he threw a candle at her head and they saw the picture of the aftermath shattered on the floor, the time that he told her to behave like Coretta Scott King and Michelle Obama, the time in 2022, and the text messages show it, where they had some altercation, she had a head injury, and he urged her not to seek treatment at the hospital because of what it would mean for him. The implication of all of those prior acts is that he was just a bad guy, and if any juror had doubt about the specific assault at issue, maybe they said, he's got a history.
Brian, that said, they didn't find him guilty of intentional assault or aggravated harassment. What do you make of this mixed verdict? And what are the chances he actually does time here?
So I'll answer that backwards. He's not going to do time. I have to say, as an attorney, he's being convicted of reckless assault, Class A misdemeanor, up to a year in prison. But you'll be hard-pressed to find anyone with no criminal conviction doing any amount of jail time as a first offender for misdemeanor assault. In terms of the actual mixed bag of the verdict, it's perplexing to me to some extent, but they obviously believe that he was reckless in the way that he harmed Grace Jabari, which I would ask the question, how should you then take property of your own from a person who takes it from you without being reckless? They obviously found an answer to that, and the harassment, as you're saying, came from outside. But you bring up a great point, Aaron. If all of that information kind of pushed him towards, well, this is a bad guy, and helped him make that conclusion, that sounds like a great argument for appeal, because you cannot say the propensity of a person led to a conviction. There might be a solid appeal coming down the line.
Well, I want to talk more about that in a second. But Kelly, I also want to talk about the aftermath here, because just hours after this verdict was announced, Marvel, which is owned by our parent company, Disney, dropped Majors from future productions as the Marvel villain Kang. So how big of a deal is this for him? And how do you think this might have a lasting impact on his career and his public image?
Oh, it was colossal that Marvel dropped, Jonathan from future projects. Colossal. We're talking about the most successful film franchise of all times, the most visible project that he's been a part of, and quite frankly, a dream job for any actor in this town. And so I think that it's going to have this kind of kind of major ripple effect throughout Hollywood when it comes to the future of what we expect, him to turn in as an actor. I mean, so much of it is let's wait and see how other studios respond. But this was pretty major.
Brian, I want to go back to what you mentioned about appeal, because Major's lawyer actually said, this is a quote, Major still has faith in the process and looks forward to fully clearing his name. So what legal recourse does he still have at this point, and what kind of a precedent do you think this case sets?
So appeals are very difficult. It's a Hail Mary and then some, but typically you're looking at mistakes by the defense, the prosecution, or the judge, and either the admission of evidence or the removal of it, the incorrect maybe jury instructions, or ineffective assistance of counsel. So when Aaron brings up the prior bad acts, if the defense says, hey, it seems like the jury was swayed by the prior bad acts and not the actual evidence against him, that's improper. That could be an appellate issue. In terms of going forward, at least in the attorneys who speak to me and the people who bother me all the time, not bother because I welcome it, say, Brian, what does this mean? So what happens if...
I'm one of the people who bothers you all the time, by the way.
And I love it. The question comes up, Brian, if my girlfriend takes my phone, what am I allowed to do? Based on this, now I would say it's her phone. Because if you're reckless in harming her, that's a conviction. Typically, we would say that the law allows everyone to use a reasonable amount of force to take back their property, but according to the Manhattan DA's office, you can't. Like, what Jonathan Majors did was reckless, even though he took the phone and ran away. So we have to find out what is the line.
But why didn't they raise that argument at trial? Why did they say she made up the allegations that this was a racist prosecution and that she was just out for revenge and spying?
We've talked about this because they didn't hire Brian Buckmeyer. we discussed this many times.
All right, well, it sounds like he might have an appeal attorney if he needs one. Aaron, Brian, thank you. And Aaron, before we go, I just want to quickly ask you, what's next here now?
So he's going to be sentenced on February 6th, pending any kind of appellate motion. We'll see if that date adjusts. But he is, as Brian notes, facing up to a year in prison. In all likelihood, as a first-time offender, as Brian notes, he's unlikely to face any prison time. Grace Jabari's attorney said justice has finally been served.
Major's attorney released a statement expressing disappointment. The jury, quote, found that he was somehow reckless while she was attacking him. The statement went on to say Mr. Majors looks forward to fully clearing his name.
Jonathan Majors is due back in court for sentencing on February 6th.
A lot of people seem very surprised by the verdict because from Jonathan Majors' point of view, you had the driver in the car that night that said he believed that the girlfriend did assault him. They had him on videotape. It showed the girlfriend that she had been injured, she said, but she was at a club and she was partying and seemed to be okay. She's chasing him down the street. There seemed to be so many contradictions in this case.
And it wasn't all 4 counts, right? It was
correct.
Split.
It was split.
I think it's just rare in general to see a misdemeanor like this go to trial. And as Ricky Kleeman pointed out, this was really about him fighting for his reputation.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of money on the line.
Yes. It's now his reputation has definitely been tainted. What was the makeup of the jury? I'm curious.
3 women, 3 men.
Yeah. Right. Jerika, thank you.